Clean and tidy and not ruin your parents' table, get a cutting mat. Then pick a kit you like, not too expensive, but it's just important that you like the subject and it's something you actually want to build. For your first kit, you're not going to go crazy on tools, so just start with some basics. A good quality sharp cutting plier, a very nice hobby knife, it doesn't really matter which brand as long as it's sharp, and you can easily find replacement blades if you need to. Also get some tweezers, the better quality, the easier they are to work with and the more use you will find for them. Also easy to have is some masking tape. This is from Tamiya. It's widely available, not too expensive, and it works really well for these scale models. Along with these basic tools, you will obviously need some glue as well. Now, since I'm not going to go into paint and just keep it simple, use some Tamiya plastic cement. This is extra thin and it works really well for bonding the plastic. This has a brush, but you can also use one from Revell, which has a needle nose tip. So those two glues are for bonding the plastic, and there's also a couple of glues you can use for bonding the clear parts. The previously shown glues are not supposed to be used on clear parts whatsoever. They will ruin the parts, give them a haze, or melt them all together. Now, instead of using those, I would advise to either use the Revell Contact Clear. This is a specific glue for clear parts, or Bob Smith Industries Super Gold Plus formula. This is a super glue also designed to work with any material and specifically work safely with clear parts. So with the basic tools and glues now out of the way, this is the kit I decided to build. It's relatively cheap, widely available in a couple of variations. In Europe it has a different box, and in the US this is the box that mostly comes in. Now it's a kit with an engine and an opening hood, and also some good possibilities for modification or adding a lot of detail here and there. Now that is not going to happen in this video, as I'm just going to go and run you through the basics and not overwhelm a first-time model kit builder. So let's get the box unwrapped, open it up and see what's inside. So there's a couple of different bags with a lot of different parts in them. Mainly there is of course the instruction manual, which shows which paints you will need and where which part will need to go in which color, and maybe even which multiple colors. In most kits the parts are already molded in the correct color. Now in this case a lot of the engine parts are already molded in a silver gray color, and also a couple of black parts as well. Now once you have distinguished which parts needs to go where and which parts you will need for your first step according to the instructions, take out your cutting pliers and remove the parts from the sprues, put them aside, and you can start gluing them together. After cutting out these parts from the sprues, you will run into an occasional part with some extra parts on top of this part. Now these are there to make sure the part can correctly be molded and not run the risk of an incomplete mold and a failed part. So you can just easily cut those off, put them aside, or throw them out. For the first pieces you can just snap them together. These are the big engine pieces. This is not always the case, but on a lot of the bigger parts there are some alignment points which just snap into each other and hold the part in place nice and tidy. Once that is all done, you can just easily apply the glue. In this case I'm using the Tamiya plastic cement, just brushing it over the seams and letting the glue seep in between, bonding the parts together. Some other pieces on this engine and in the rest of the build as well will not always have alignment points, so you can just put the parts together where they are supposed to be and then run a bead of the glue along it and glue it together. So now you know how to cut the parts from the sprues and assemble and glue them all together. You can just go on to the next step, and eventually you will encounter some decals as well. Now I use my hobby knife just to remove them from the decal sheet. You can also use a pair of scissors or whatever cutting tool you prefer yourself. I just like the precision of the hobby knife and the ease of going to the specific part without having to cut the entire decal sheet apart to get to the middle decal. Now I'm also just cutting out the decals that I need. In this case there are some engine decals and a couple of decals for on the interior. I just cut them out of the decal sheet as shown earlier, then put them into some water and take them out again. Let them sit for about half a minute to a minute. Just let them soak in the water and get released from the backing paper. After you have let the decals soak in the water for a bit and have them taken out, the decals will come easily loose from the backing paper. You can just remove them with the tweezers, slide them about a bit, and put them in the proper place they are supposed to be. Be very careful to put them in the exact place they need to be, because once they all dry up, they will not be moving again, or you will not get another chance to move them or apply them in the correct place. So just be careful, put them in place, and let it sit. Don't touch it, just let it completely dry off. While assembling these model kits, you will also encounter some chrome parts in most cases. Now it's important to keep in mind that these will not glue with the plastic cement that you have been using before. This is a coated plastic piece, and the coating, in this case the chrome, will keep the plastic cement from doing its job. So instead of using the plastic cement, I am using some super glue. Now you could also remove the chrome coating from the parts or the specific area you will be applying the glue to, but I just find it a lot easier to use the super glue, as it doesn't make me want to have to take an extra step, and it's just applying the glue, put the part in place, and it's done. Now, as explained in the beginning of the videos when going through the tools and the glues, you cannot use the plastic cement for gluing in clear parts, as it will ruin the part, melt it, or probably give it a weird hazy look, and that's not what you're after. So in this case you need to use a specific clear parts glue. I am using the Bob Smith Industries Super Gold Plus. This is a super glue that can be used safely with clear parts. Now keep in mind that almost no super glue on the market at the moment will be able to be used with these clear parts. This Bob Smith Industries is a super good example of one that does work. I do not know of any others that do, so be careful when selecting a super glue. Either just buy this Bob Smith Industries Super Gold Plus, or use a specific clear parts glue like the Revell Contact Clear. If you decide to go for the Bob Smith Industries Super Gold Plus, keep in mind that it is still a super glue, so it glues in a matter of seconds and it's really hard to remove. It glues skin in the blink of an eye and pretty much anything to anything as well in a couple of seconds. So be careful, be very aware of what you're using. Now if you do not feel comfortable using this Super Gold Plus, which I can understand for a beginner, it is a bit aggressive and it takes a lot of getting used to, either use the Revell Contact Clear. This is a specific glue for the clear parts as well. It's not as strong, not as quickly drying, but it's a lot safer and it can be removed with a bit of water and some patience. Now if you do not have the ability to get the Revell Contact Clear in your area, you could also use some white wood glue. Now another good example for the Bob Smith Industries Super Glue is that it can be used to glue anything to anything. Now in this kit it comes with some metal exhaust pipes, and that would be need to glue to some of the plastic exhaust pieces as well. The plastic cement would not work, as it is gluing metal to the plastic, and the plastic cement only affects the plastic and doesn't work with the metal. So in this case I would be using the super glue anyways, as this is pretty much the only glue that I know would work quick and would work well for bonding these two surfaces.